Hey everybody, it's Christopher making a video for you on getting started with transcription. So I'm going to take you through some basics of transcription, and I'm doing this via video instead of in a presentation in the class because I can actually show you and demonstrate on my computer exactly what I do, and it's much harder in the classroom because I'd have to get that all set up. I'm already set up at home. As well, this is sort of a legacy thing so that this can be shown in other classes to other people. I'm putting it up on YouTube and I'm making it public. Starting out, I'm going to take you through the hardware, the software, and the methods of transcription. In between my master's and my PhD, I had an entire year here in Louisville where I worked for a court reporting agency, and I literally did this for a living. I did transcription editing, and I also did court reporting. And by doing those three things, I'm well prepared for the sort of interviews and transcription that we're going to have to do for our research. Transcription is a huge pain in the butt. It's awful. Even if you've done it a lot, it's still really, really tedious. And you'll get some good stuff out of it, but it does take a long time, even once you're good at it. Starting out, hardware. So probably the most important piece of hardware for doing this efficiently is this. It's a foot pedal. And this is actually the model that I have. It's really nice. It's very durable, so you can take it with you. You can stick it in your bag. It's not too big, and it is big enough that you can actually control it with your foot. It's got 3 buttons on it. You can set up those 3 buttons to do whatever you want. I use play and stop on this middle button here. Then I've got rewind to the left and fast forward to the right. Having your hands free is really important. Trying to do it with hotkeys slows you way down and makes you keep thinking about what you're doing with the controls rather than what you're doing with the transcript. And clicking out of your word processor to start and stop and skip back all the time will just slow you down so much. So a foot pedal is awesome. It really, really helps. Of course, you're also going to need a computer. I always do it at home because I get a real keyboard. I've got 2 monitors. I'm all set up here. You can do it on a laptop. None of the stuff that I'm going to show you today is very intensive, so it can work on a laptop, and if you're used to typing on a laptop, that's going to work fine for you. The second part of the hardware is headphones. I've got really nice headphones that I use for gaming and music and all sorts of stuff, and I wear them all the time. The number one thing to remember about the headphones for this is that you want really comfortable ones. It's nice that they sound good, and it's nice that maybe they block out noise around you, but if they're not comfortable, you're gonna have a bad time. So if you have a 90-minute interview, that's probably a minimum of 3 hours. I'm pretty good, but I'm a little rusty. I come in at about 4.5, 5 hours on a 90-minute interview. It's slow. It's tedious. If your headphones are uncomfortable, that time is going to be miserable. The other part about comfort is a chair. Have a nice chair. I know that seems silly, but have a nice chair, because if you're like me and you just sit down and you power through and you do it, then you want this chair. It also has a weird effect on the foot pedal. If you're not comfortable in the chair, the foot pedal does not make as big a difference as if you are comfortable. You have to have it positioned just right so that you can have your foot up on the heel so you can hit the buttons. And if your chair is uncomfortable or positioned wrong, then you get leg cramps, you get foot cramps, you get ankle pain, and everything just kind of falls apart, and it makes the whole thing literally painful, not just mentally painful. So moving on to the software, I use ExpressScribe, and it comes from NCH. They're an Australian company. You can get it for free. You can get it for free either through their website or through CNET. Both of those are trustworthy sources. If you get it from somewhere else, it may not be trustworthy. But it is free. I've got the Pro version because the company that I worked for paid for it. And obviously it's got lots of bells and whistles. But for the purposes of this class, for our sort of research, the free is going to do just fine. It can work with most foot pedals. It can work with most audio files. And of course you're allowed to use it for this. This is what the actual window looks like. I've got some audio from a podcast that I like already loaded in here. It's really easy to load things in. It's really easy to control everything. And the bonus is that it's already got this foot pedal built in. And you can use this controller setup wizard here to decide which buttons go where. You can set it up all for yourself, just depending on your taste. It works really well. The number one thing that I like about it is that it's got this little speed slider down here. And when I'm transcribing, I'm usually in the 85 to 90% speed range. And when I'm editing, I'm usually in the 150 range. And that's just because that's what works for me. The faster speed lets you hear some things that you may not hear normally. And the slower speed means that you can probably catch up as you type. Also on the software front, I just use Word. I just type into Word. It autosaves for me. It's the thing that I'm familiar with, and that's what I use. Now, Express Scribe does have its own place here that you can just type into. And it's kind of nice because it will timestamp some things for you, but I don't trust it because I've had things lost that way. So I just use Word. So I've got some audio loaded up here. I'll take you through it really quick. I just hit the middle pedal and it started. So that's about 150%.
I am drinking out of the barrel bourbon again. Oh, frankly.
So let's skip back to the beginning there. So that was 164. I'm going to take it down to about 90%-ish, which is normally what I type at. I just scrolled it all the way back to the beginning of the audio. There's some strange music because it's a podcast. But I'll show you how I do this.
In the Reacher Geek, the special effects makeup podcast. The special effects makeup podcast from the fan and the troll perspective. Right here on Tester.com. I am Ron Peralta.
I am. I'm drinking out of the barrel bourbon again. Oh, Frank Polito.
It's crazy.
Okay, so I just realized that that's probably the same guy twice.
I am drinking out of the barrel bourbon again. Oh, Frank Polito.
Okay, yes. So he's naming himself there.
It's crazy.
Okay, so that's enough to get the idea of how I do that. You saw that heard that I started and stopped quite a bit. Once you get into the flow of it, you really can do that. You can slow it down even further, but words start to garble when you do that, and it gets hard to listen to. It also guarantees that you have to be as slow as they're talking. You can see that I put XXX colon and YYY colon, and that'll be where their names go. At the end of doing all of this, I'll go back and do a search and replace on XXX and YYY to put their names in there. And that saves you a lot of typing. You just decide those. You do want to make sure that it's something that won't come up elsewhere in your transcript, which is why I used 3 cap X's and 3 cap Y's. The bigger thing, and I actually failed at this just now when I was typing this, is a mindset thing. You have to allow this to be a rough draft. If you try to get it perfect on the first try, it will take forever. And I know that you don't want to listen to these probably more than you have to, and you don't want to spend more time typing than you have to, but let it be a rough draft and then go back through and edit. It makes it so much faster. Now, my favorite method for doing this is to have someone that wasn't in the room when you recorded it type it up for you, and then you go back and edit it because you were in the room and you can clarify a bunch of things. That works really well. It sounds like that's not super great for the privacy concerns and that sort of thing that we're concerned with, these ethical concerns that we're concerned with while we're doing these. But after last week, I realized that if you have that in place before you're going out and doing those interviews, you can put that person that you're going to exchange with, like you take theirs, they take yours, and you do rough drafts on each other's. You could put them as co-investigators. At least I think so. So that might be something you want to think about, and that might be something we want clarity on. But it sounds like that might work, and that makes it so that you can really get into that rough draft mindset, that you're just typing down what was said, and you're not super invested in it. You're not super invested in making it perfect because you know that someone else is going to come behind you and edit it. So that's the basics on transcription. But there is a huge, huge other concern that you need to be aware of before you're doing any of this, because recording is the actual key to doing transcription painlessly. We have Zoom H5s and Zoom H6s available for checkout in our department. You just go up to Steven and you can check them out. Obviously, these are very high-priced recording instruments. The Zoom H5 has this little connection up top here, and you can see that it's omnidirectional mics up there. You get good recordings out of this. There's also almost no length limit on these because you can just switch out little cards, the little SD cards, and keep recording. So as long as you have SD cards, there's no time limit. Now the H6, which we also have for checkout in the department, it has plugins for other mics, which is really, really handy. It essentially works like a mixer. You can put in the mics, you can position the mics however you want, and it'll record them really nice. If you have a good recording, transcription is much easier. If you have a bad recording, it's going to be painful all the way through. If you're recording with your phone, you're going to hate yourself very, very quickly because those microphones are designed to be about this close. And when you set them on a table, they pick up all the table noise and none of the voices. It makes transcription really, really miserable. So the way I usually set this up when I was court reporting to make sure that I got a good recording was one microphone close to whoever's being interviewed, one microphone close to the interviewee or interviewer, and then a microphone not very close to either of them. It will pick up room noises, but it means that if you miss something on one of the other microphones, maybe you still have a recording. And I know someone just winced that there's going to be 3 recordings for this. You probably want 4, actually. So the best thing about ExpressScribe and having multiple recordings is you can actually load them in here. You can load 3 different recordings in here. They'll all be roughly the same length. You should be able to find where you were in each one, so that if someone starts mumbling or a loud sound happens or someone hits a mic or you stop recording on one of them accidentally, you can just switch to the other audio and you've still got it. Using your phone as a backup to make sure that you get total coverage will work. It will sound terrible, but if you're not super comfortable using, say, the Zoom 6 or Zoom H6, then having your phone there as a backup just so that you definitely get everything and you don't run out of memory and you don't run out of power and you don't have the microphone being hit, that's okay for your phone. Positioning of the mics is important, but the environment is also really important. Try to find a quiet room, and even though it seems quiet, it might not actually be quiet. I don't know how many recordings I have where if I could transcribe air conditioning, I would have done that instead of trying to transcribe the words, because the air conditioning was much louder. One of the other really terrible things that you might run into is people not knowing what to do with their hands while they're being interviewed. Giving them something to do is really good. Giving them something quiet to do is even better. So having a stress ball, that's good. Giving them a pad of paper and a pen, also really good. They might take notes. For this sort of interview, they may take notes and come back to things that they wanted to talk about that maybe you didn't anticipate. You should also take notes. And taking notes on your laptop is unideal because strangely typing is really super loud. And if you're sitting at a table and both of the mics, your mic and their mic, are set on that table and you're typing on it, guess what you're going to hear? Just typing. So taking a pad of paper and a pen is a really nice quiet way to take notes. The things that you definitely want to take notes on are names, titles, if they're talking about family members that you can't go look up online, write that down. It also helps so that you can stay in the flow of the interview and then afterward go clarify spelling, go clarify names. I know this is less important when we're hiding the identities of people, but you may want those accurate names anyway so that you can go back and ask those people questions. It's really, really super helpful. And if you ever do legal depositions, you'll have to do that. One of the other things that you can do is get yourself just a nice microphone. And this is the one that I've got. This is the one that I'm recording on right here. And, you know, it's $40. If you're going to do a lot of these, maybe this is what you want to do. It works really well in a quiet room. It does pick up basically the entire room. You probably heard some of the stuff coming in from outside of this room even already in this recording. But they are nice, and if you're recording only a single person, then you can make it unidirectional and put it directly in front of them. It is kind of large and kind of imposing, so you'll want to be aware of that as well. Now, the other thing that you can do if all of this fails, say somebody already has checked out the Zoom, or say that you want to depend on only your own equipment, there are these lapel microphones that you can plug directly into your phone. They will pick up only a single person, so it's kind of still a pain. But if you're really only interested in what they have to say, not what you have to say, which is kind of strange, but maybe that's how it is, you can get one of these. Obviously, they're pretty darn cheap. They're $14 right now. You can also check these out at the library. That's the number one thing with transcription, is get a good recording and then get yourself some transcribing software. Get yourself set up for that. I'm Christopher. Have a good day.